Good stuff. Cool. So now going on to the third game, I've gone with the Panthers at the Dolphins. It's fun talking about the Dolphins. It's a fun team to look at, to review their games. Although I watched the Giants game and I had the Dolphins at -11. And I was like, guys, play a clean game of football. Like, they made some stupid mistakes again. Like I mentioned earlier, I can't remember what, the Ravens. Just mistakes. Even if you're expected to win or you're blowing out, you don't want to start getting used to these sort of mistakes. You start doing it more often and it becomes a habit. Don't get into these habits. Like, he threw a pick six that, and I think they were at the Giants' 7-yard line, something like that. He threw the pick six. Then he throws the second interception at Miami's 27. So straight away, he's given the Giants 10 out of their 16 points just from interceptions. Didn't make a difference in the result of the game, but for me, I want to see just a cleaner game from Tua. As you touched upon it when you were doing your quarterback picks, Paul. He's ultra aggressive. I think that could come back to haunt them. Yeah. Not this weekend, but when they play the better teams, they've got the players where they don't need to be that aggressive. Like Tyreek Hill, Waddle's now back. Just Tua needs to manage it a little bit better. He's doing a great job. Don't get me wrong. He is doing a very good job. I just always wary of when these little mistakes come in that they start to turn into a habit. So I'm hoping the OC and McDaniel and just everyone is picking up on that and making sure they rectify it before it becomes an issue. That, and obviously A-Chain also had a fumble after an 8-yard run for, I think, a first down. Just little things to clean up. If they do that, they will absolutely, I think they cover the spread again this week, which is -13.5. Like, they could rip the Panthers to pieces. The Panthers secondary really isn't that great. I look at the Panthers and none of it really blows me away. Bryce Young's a funny one. I watch him play and he looks like an NFL quarterback. He throws like an NFL quarterback. The problem is he throws it about a second too late every time. So you look at like the picks and that he's had countless numbers this year. Guys are open, but by the time it gets to them, it's closed. And he needs to see the plays develop quicker. And unfortunately, that's not really something you can teach and you can coach. You can try, but you either have that or you don't. And really, if you haven't picked that up in college, then will he pick that up? I think they might have wasted a lot of money on that pick on Bryce Young. I hope not, because I like he's so clean. His throwing motion is great. I think he's got the talent to do it. And I know I've spoken to Paul about it a few times. Talent-wise, he's got it, but yeah, the timing is all off. Then I look at Tyreek Hill. So he's on course to have 2,213 receiving yards based off of the yards he's had through 5 games. That's with a 40-yard game and a 58-yard game. It's just like, man, he's averaging 130 yards a game. And everyone knows he's the guy to stop. McDaniels just keeps finding ways to get him the ball. Like at the weekend with the Giants, defensive coordinators think it's a good idea to single him. I wouldn't have one play where he's single covered. You need to have safety help when you're covering Tyreek Hill. Otherwise, there's only one result. Even if the defensive back was facing the same way with a few yards head start and then they just throw it up, Tyreek Hill's still going to get there first. They've got to turn around and then run. It's not a fair battle. And that's without looking at Jalen Waddle. A-Chain's out, but Mostert, it's not exactly a slow coach. To back up, well, not to back up, but Mostert was probably still the starting back. It was, if it was a more established team than the Giants, I'm sure A-Chain wouldn't have had as much. But again, A-Chain got the the credit for the last 2 weeks. But if you look 2 weeks ago, I can't remember the matchup now, but Mostert still had a huge game. The Denver game, Mostert still had a huge game, and it was only just because it was an absolute travesty from a defensive standpoint that A-Chain came in and got what he got. But yeah, I look at this Carolina team and I don't know if they're the worst team in football, but there's nothing I see that I like. I'm trying to think, right, can they cover a 13.5 point spread? Even with the Dolphins D, I don't see it happening. So I see the Dolphins covering the spread. You look at last week, the Lions beat the Panthers. The Lions didn't even get out of second gear. It was a comfortable win. 28-7, I think, quite early in the second half. And then the game just dwindled out. There was a few late touchdowns from both teams. But yeah, it was a poor performance from the Panthers. And there's been a lot of them, like the Seattle game. It was a 10-point game, but it never really felt like it was close when you were watching it. Just like the Lions game, just like, I can't remember the other game before that, but yeah, I don't feel confident in this Panthers team. I see comfortable win in Miami at home, for the Dolphins. You guys have anything you want to add to that, Jay?
The Panthers are 0-5, and I'm just like wondering where this win is going to come from. It just feels like a total mismatch, and 13.5 is definitely a contender for me for best bet this week.
Yeah.
It's a great time actually for the Dolphins to integrate Chase Claypool.
Great shout. Great shout.
They've lost A-Chan. They are gaining Jeff Wilson Jr., who I know very well, being an ex-49er. He is someone that can get you 100 plus in any given game. So Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. will be more than enough over the next month to live without, the super talented, it seems, A-Chan. Yeah, not much more to add, to be honest. Dolphins, I see this as a blowout. I'd be careful with the over, just because I don't know how many the Panthers will score. But this is one of those games, as Paul would like to say, take care of business and get out clean with no injuries.
Yeah, exactly. How about you, Paul? You got anything you want to add?
Yeah, you just stole my line. Yeah, this is a let's make it through unscathed to the other side. Excellent point about Claypool, Jeff Wilson. If you've got who's their backup quarterback, it's Mike White from the Jets last year. Give Mike White some reps.
He wasn't actually that bad in a couple of games, if I remember right.
Give him the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
They were like chanting for Mike White over Zach Wilson last year, but it's the Jets.
Yeah.
And the Panthers, Frank Reich's supposed to be a very good offensive coach, and Bryce Young, they've invested a lot in this kid, and he's not improving at the rate that they would have hoped for. So
what have they got round him? Who's the number one receiver? Is it Adam Thielen?
I think it is.
Yeah.
He actually played pretty well last week, Thielen. I'll give him that, but he's not a number one receiver. He's a very good number two to support a number one. But yeah, he's
went
not
from a number two to a number one. That kind of
but in the
very quickly.
For the pick, they gave DJ Moore to the Bears, which is he had 200 yards last week. DJ Moore, he's a player. They're giving him the chance, Bryce Young, but it's early. Like 5 weeks
they've got to build around him. Give him some weapons. I mean,
it's like a lamb out for the slaughter, isn't it? Like he's got, if you don't put he ain't got a good O line. He doesn't have anything around him really that you think, okay, got a defense that are going to keep you in games. No. World class wide receiver. No. Great O line. No. Well, what? I guess what else do we expect? We've been a bit spoiled, maybe with Stroud, thinking, okay, he should be doing better. But they're two different teams, two different coaches. It's not comparable. The Texans do have more than the Panthers.
What if they number one? Oh no, wait, they won't have it. If they're number one, it's not their pick.
No, they don't.
Who gets it? So who is it? Who's got
the Bears?
The Bears.